Whether you call it soccer or football, people all around the world love the beautiful game, including health brands. When the 2026 FIFA World Cup kicked off about a month ago across 16 locations in North America, there were 48 teams competing for the gold trophy. At the time of this recording, 4 teams remain: France, Spain, England, and reigning title holder Argentina. By this time next week, we'll know who the champions are. But more importantly for our sake, there were also several major health brands marketing and advertising throughout the 5-week tournament, including provider organizations and drug makers. Bristol Myers Squibb launched its We Won't Lose media campaign in mid-June and has served as an official supporter of New York, New Jersey as a host city. Similarly, its Big Pharma rival Sanofi served as an official supporter of Boston as a host city, while consumer health company Haleon served as the official consumer healthcare product partner of U.S. Soccer. The World Cup has been the main attraction for weeks now, so as it comes to a dramatic close in the coming days, our summer intern Lola Offenbach brings us a jumbo World Cup episode with back-to-back interviews. First up is Ope Olawale, Chief Marketing Officer at Hackensack Meridian Health, who details how the New Jersey-based health system has served as an official supporter of New York, New Jersey as a host city. Then you'll hear from Cologuard's marketing director, Tara Cunningham, about how the Exact Sciences brand produced its halftime ad featuring U.S. women's soccer legends Abby Wambach and Julie Foudy.
Hi, Ope. Thank you so much for joining us on the MM+M podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. I just wanted to start to have you give a bit of an intro about who you are and about the Hackensack sponsorship of the New York, New Jersey World Cup.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. We are actually touching on 3 of my most favorite topics: soccer, marketing, and helping people live their healthiest lives. I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Hackensack Meridian Health here in New Jersey, where 8 of the games for the World Cup are being played. Before I am a Chief Marketing Officer, I'm actually the mom of 2 incredible children, one of whom was incredibly ill a few years ago, and which is what brought me into the healthcare space. I was historically in financial services. And for me, there's a huge tie-in to the work we're doing as Hackensack Meridian Health as the official hospital for the New York, New Jersey Host Committee, and my experience as a mom who had a son who was incredibly ill. And for me, that at that point in time, I was very vulnerable and I was looking for trust, hope, and the best possible outcomes. It made me think of my role more as a purpose and not just as a role or a job. So tying that back to the work that we're currently doing here with the New York, New Jersey Host Committee, as the largest, most comprehensive network in New Jersey, and the only hospital in New Jersey that is ranked top 10 in the nation and the closest to the stadium where all the games are being played, we felt like it was our responsibility to ensure, with over 1.5 million visitors coming into New Jersey, we need to ensure their safety. We need to ensure that they could watch the games with confidence, without the vulnerability that I discussed earlier as a mom. So we have spent the past several months working, frankly, across the 40,000 employees and team members at Hackensack Meridian Health to ensure that with all the visitors coming with our communities, that people feel safe and they're able to truly enjoy the World Cup that we are currently in the middle of watching.
Thank you for that. I know that Hackensack Meridian Health is the closest level 1 trauma center to MetLife Stadium, so obviously geographically it made sense for this sponsorship. Are there other factors or other things that played into deciding to be part of the World Cup sponsorships?
Yeah, I think that is probably one of the biggest things that we were focused on. So I'm really proud to say, as our teams, with a lot of the work that our teams did in the past few weeks, at one of the games, we had a patient who actually experienced a heart attack, and we were there. we're able to save them and we're able to stabilize them incredibly quickly. That, for me, speaks volumes to the role that we're playing. But the other critical parts of this are when you think of our community, New Jersey at large, we want to ensure that there's a lasting impact for the investment that we're making. So the first thing was looking at different communities across New Jersey. We have invested in 3 fields long after the last whistle is blown for the World Cup. We will have soccer fields for communities here. Also, our Tackle Kids Cancer program is the official, one of the official charities for the New York, New Jersey Host Committee. That is an incredibly important program to us, and we're incredibly proud of the work that we've done with Eli Manning. We've funded 2 labs. We've funded curative sickle cell treatments. We've funded treatments for many of the youth cancer patients across our network. And having that be a part of the global stage to be able to pull in funds to continue to fund incredible research, but not only that, to be able to provide once in a lifetime experiences for these pediatric patients who frankly have had to grow up really quickly with the life-threatening illnesses that they face, has been a really proud moment for us. We also partner with Governor Sherrill, the Meadowland Chamber of Commerce, to be able to provide 770 tickets to Make-A-Wish Foundation kids, as well as Tackle Kids Cancer Kids, and the healthcare heroes that we have here in New Jersey. So it's really been one of those things where not only are we there for the care, we're also there to be able to provide these experiences that will be long lasting beyond when the World Cup is over.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you said you live in Bergen County, you live in New Jersey. What does it mean, though, for Hackensack Meridian Health to be not only the official hometown hospital, but also to be giving back to the community in that way?
The health and wellness, like I said, is incredibly important, but I would say supporting the economic viability of our community, we're going to bring in an estimated, I think it was $3 billion the last time I saw a number, into New Jersey. That is really important. So not only are we helping, again, people live their healthiest lives, but we're also contributing to the economy of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. I know that you also had the How Healthy Happens campaign going on. How does that fit into the sponsorship as a whole?
Yeah, How Healthy Happens is a campaign that really focuses on health outcomes for our patients. And I think for me, for the ad that we're running around the World Cup, what has struck me the most is a line in the campaign that talks about how world-class care is not just for world-class athletes, it's for the community at large. So being able to elevate who we are as an organization, as well as build that trust with our community, as well as people globally and across the nation about the quality of care that we provide as Hackensack Meridian Health, is something that we're incredibly proud of, and is something, again, long after the World Cup is over, that is going to have a lasting impact on not only the communities we serve in New York, New Jersey, but community people across the nation.
And then obviously there's a lot of moving parts in this sponsorship. I wanted to go back a little bit about giving out those free tickets to children with cancer, to healthcare professionals. Was part of that sponsorship sponsored with Uber, with providing transportation as well? Can you expand on that aspect a little?
Yes, it was. Uber is one of the partners that we have at Hackensack Meridian Health. One of our social impact programs provides transportation to people in the community for free who are unable to get to their appointments. And, one of addressing people who do not have housing, food, transportation is critical in order to be able to get people to consume healthcare and live their healthiest lives. So as a long-standing partner of ours, we approached Uber in the process, and they were incredibly generous and excited to be a part of what we're doing here in New Jersey. I think being able to open up the World Cup and the experience to, again, children and healthcare providers has been one of the proudest moments of these events for me. Watching them, seeing their pictures, attending the events. Like I said earlier, many of these children are living with illnesses that are having such a huge impact on their families, on their siblings, on them, and to be able to take a pause and a moment where they can be part of an event like the World Cup and seeing the smiles on their face. I have to admit, often when I see them and I see their pictures and I see their reactions, it brings tears to my eyes because of the impact that we're having on them.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's so interesting that you have those other programs and you were able to use pre-existing programs to build into the sponsorship. As someone, I grew up in Bergen County going to Hackensack Meridian Health for health services, and my family has. I never knew about those types of like transportation and other things like that that you offer for the community. A little aside from the sponsorship, are there places or where can our listeners who are from the area who might need those resources go to find more information on them?
We have some of the information on our website, but I would
Mhm.
say as folks interact with us, speaking to their care team and flagging when they have those sorts of needs. We have an incredible leader here at Hackensack Meridian Health, Dr. Nicole Harris Hollingsworth, and her entire team focuses on closing those gaps
Mhm.
that affect folks in our community to ensure that they're able to have access to care. One of the programs that we've also worked on as part of this is driving awareness of human trafficking. Many people don't know that with large events like this, human trafficking is actually, it ramps up at large
Mhm.
events like this. So being able to partner with Nicole, partner with Uber, partner with the Coalition for Human Trafficking, and many other organizations and survivors to ensure that not only are we providing safety as it relates to medical care, but we're bringing awareness to a topic that people don't want to talk about. And many survivors of human trafficking talk about how they feel invisible. So we launched a campaign that is featured at many of the transportation stations like Harrison, Hoboken, as well as one of the park and rides where we're asking people not to look away, but to stop, stare, and report any suspicions of human trafficking. So again, being able to bring awareness to such an important topic through this sponsorship has also been incredibly fulfilling for us.
Yeah, I mean, all the details of this sponsorship, they seem just so well thought out and very well executed. So I really admire that. Also looking ahead, you've talked about wanting to have that long-term impact. Would you say defines success for the Hackensack Meridian Health Network once the World Cup is over?
Sure. I would say number one is the health outcomes. So the story of the patient that we were able to stabilize and save their lives. For me, all the work we did is that one story alone defines success. However, the other ways that we're looking at success are manifold. I would say that as a marketer, um, the sponsorship here, the way we're looking at success really is how the sponsorship is fueling our flywheel.
Mhm.
Right. So from an awareness standpoint, we're aware that with AI now, more than 90% of healthcare searches online are being surfaced as AI overview, which means the traditional ways that we did marketing historically, where it was about repetition and impressions and volume, it is so critical right now for us to really fuel our awareness through user-generated content. So having Tony Marola, who is a past goalie of the US team, as well as Governor Sherrill at one of our hospitals for the kickoff, generated more than 40 unique stories nationwide. That in and of itself is awareness that we frankly can't pay for, because it's going to help fuel a lot of the AI engines and LLM engines, so that when patients, 90% of them, are being surfaced information, now they see Hackensack Meridian Health and what we're able to provide to them. So I think that is really important from a success metric. I would say the other thing is acquisition. We found with our sponsorships, such as the Giants, that many of the people who become aware of us during sponsorships have a 2 times higher likelihood of coming and choosing Hackensack Meridian Health for their care.
Yeah.
What that means is sponsorships actually drive a huge acquisition engine from an ROI standpoint. And we estimated that many of the new patients that come in through sponsorships, the cost per acquisition is about $20 per patient, which is incredibly cheap in healthcare. And I would say the final thing is the other health outcomes that we're able to drive through Tackle Kids Cancer, having raised over 25 million. And I mentioned earlier, the labs we've funded, the clinical trials we've funded, the experiences that we've funded in partnership with Eli Manning and others are all incredibly critical to be able to help people continue to live healthier lives. That is such a huge part of what we do and why we invest in sponsorships like the World Cup.
Yeah, a lot of fruitful results. Thank you for sharing that. And then I just have one more question for you to close out the episode. What do you hope? Of course, we have a lot of medical marketers tuning into this. What do you hope listeners can kind of take away from this sponsorship and maybe implement for themselves in the future?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is personally, as the Chief Marketing Officer of Hackensack Meridian Health, my hope is that in New York, New Jersey, and across the nation, people think about Hackensack Meridian Health as a premier destination location for care. And what I would say to other people who are in my position is really evaluating sponsorships like this as a way to really be in the communities that they serve. And there's actually really strong returns, like I mentioned earlier, that come with being a part of something as big as the World Cup. And again, it's not about those returns. It really has been about our responsibility as the #1 health network in New Jersey to ensure the safety of our community, the safety of the visitors, and the safety of all the athletes who have come to New Jersey over the past several weeks.
Yeah. Well, Ope, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It's been great having you.
Thank you so much for having me, Lola.
Hi, Tara. Thank you so much for joining us on the MM+M podcast today. I want to start with just asking you to introduce yourself to our audience, your name, your position, if there's a fun fact you want to share as well.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me. So I'm Tara Cunningham Corona, and I lead the digital strategy for Cologuard consumer marketing team at Abbott. I am based in Colorado, and kind of a fun fact is outside of, working and being super passionate about getting people screened for colon cancer, I am always have a foster dog in tow at some point in my so it keeps life interesting and fun.
Yeah, that's so sweet. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about Cologuard's ad for the World Cup, advocating for colon cancer screening. And I just want to start at like a high level overview of kind of the thinking behind the campaign and why the FIFA World Cup was kind of the right moment to introduce the creative.
To kind of take a step back, to get people screened for colon cancer, we really look to connect with cultural moments and conversations. We're doing that in order to break down barriers to screening for colon cancer. We're combating misconceptions within our marketing and overall just making screening for colon cancer something that people do and they're not embarrassed about. So we kind of thought, what better opportunity than to place ourselves within the World Cup, very highly visible, and highlight the Cologuard test as a simple, effective test that you can take in 15 minutes, which is the length of a soccer halftime. The campaign features Abby Wambach and Julie Foudy, who are two of soccer's really most iconic names, and they're also dedicated advocates for colon cancer screening. We also had our iconic Cologuard character make a little appearance there as he popped in to kind of deliver a couple lines of messaging in that spot. But Abby's personal kind of family ties to colon cancer, she's spoken about that in the past. And then Julie's firsthand experience as a Cologuard patient make them a really, really powerful and authentic duo and voices for the cause. And just also to mention, we have worked with them in the past through partnerships at the Cologuard Classic and their Welcome to the Party podcast. They've been really proven partners for us as brand ambassadors, and they've delivered really high Nielsen results, even highest across 5 years and across a ton of brand measures through our work with them and their podcast. So we were really excited that they were game and, we brought this campaign to life.
Yeah, what did that kind of look like as the campaign came together? Did you approach the two of them first, or did you kind of have the idea for like the advertisement first, some of the characteristics within the ad?
Yeah, so we had this, idea to be part of the World Cup, which I kind of mentioned. And then because we have this relationship with them, we were able to kind of reach out and really engage the conversation. Like I said, because they work with us and they've done, events and podcasts and things like that, they're super familiar with the brand. As I mentioned, Julie is a patient. So kind of came together relatively quickly, but because of that existing relationship, we were able to bring that to them and work through it really quickly. And it was, a matter of, I think, a couple of months and it all came to life. So kind of, came together, like I said, quickly, but because of that existing relationship is really how it was able to come to fruition.
Yeah, no, that's great. Talking a little bit about the theme of the advertisement, obviously colorectal screenings and colorectal cancer awareness. Was there any concern kind of discussing those heavier topics at around a sporting event that's supposed to be a little bit more fun and upbeat, and kind of having that juxtaposition of themes there?
Yeah, I think that's exactly, what we're trying to do, and to make people comfortable talking about colon cancer and screening, because it is so important. Colon cancer is the most preventable but least prevented cancer. So because, again, the power of those two, Abby having that personal connection and Julie being a patient, they were able to bring it, the message across in a lighthearted way that I think was really impactful. So we weren't worried about, the sensitive nature of it, because we just want people to be able to get screened and to be able to talk about it, and as I mentioned, kind of breaking down those barriers.
Mm-hmm. And then sports sponsorships, they're really becoming very increasingly common in the medical marketing space. What kind of did the World Cup allow Cologuard to do that maybe other marketing channels haven't done, or that kind of sets it apart from other campaigns that have been done at the World Cup?
Yeah, so I think the World Cup, just so highly visible. It's the biggest kind of shared moment in recent history. There were record-breaking TV audiences that watched, for instance, the U.S.-Belgium game in, around 16, and it was just the most watched soccer telecast, I think, in U.S. history. So that combined with people watching from home was really just like, a natural fit for us to have this impactful message. And, we were excited about being able to play here because it's a shared national experience that longtime soccer fans were able to, come together, spreading awareness of this, as well as new fans, people watching for the first time because, screening for colon cancer is so important. It impacts everyone, regardless of gender, socioeconomic status, background, anything else. So we found that this was just like such a perfect opportunity to bring this message, and I think it's definitely resonating. And we're kind of already seeing the impact.
Yeah. Going off of that, do you have any early metrics that you can share or any general feedback that you have received so far?
Yeah, so we've seen comments on Facebook, on Instagram and socials as well, where people are grateful, for us to bringing awareness to this important topic. We'll do all of those other brand metrics where, we of course look at reach and all the media things, and we look at visits to website and all of that, of course. But we also saw searches around Abby and Cologuard spiking, at the time that our spots ran. So that was really exciting. That's just, an immediate kind of read on how it's resonating, and people are, interested in kind of learning a bit more.
Yeah. And I mean, looking ahead a little bit after this ad has been out for a little bit, what would you say is like the biggest measure of success for the campaign?
Yeah, the biggest measure is getting people screened and being able to measure, screenings, being able to look at tests, people that are requesting them, provider conversations, and just, like I said, overall screening. So that, of course, will be something that we will, continue to kind of pull through to really measure this campaign. But we have all of those, additional things, like I mentioned, social conversations and all of those kind of things that we're able to pull in as well.
Mm-hmm. And then for our listeners, obviously a lot of them work in the healthcare marketing space. What is one lesson that your team learned from building this campaign, and especially building it around such a major cultural moment like the World Cup?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I think that we really want to be brave and, put ourselves in places that sometimes unexpected, but that we really have a right to play. Like I said, being that people are watching from home, it's to what I mentioned earlier, is so important to get people screened. There are literally 55 million people unscreened right now. So that's a huge gap to close. So, be brave. If you have a really great idea that will resonate, work really hard to make it happen. That's one. And I think having really great brand partners who, it's not just a one and done partnership or relationship, people who are really dedicated to the cause and helping us raise that awareness of the cause have proven so valuable to us as well.
Is there anything else you'd like to discuss about the campaign? Anything I didn't mention so far?
I think it's just important, for any listener out there who is of screening age, and if they're unscreened, to, either learn more about Cologuard or just talk to your healthcare provider about what your options are. It is, as I mentioned, so just critical for people to stay up to date and get those timely screenings. So that's my biggest takeaway.
Yeah. Is there a specific place that listeners can go to learn more about Cologuard or colon cancer screening?
Yeah, our website, Cologuard.com, has tons of information and guides and things like that, even guidebooks to help you engage conversations with your healthcare provider. So there's a ton of great resources on there.
Oh, yeah, great. Thank you so much. And again, Tara, thank you so much for joining us on the MM+M podcast. We really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.